Hello, everyone. Welcome to Let's Be Telepathy. Today is a special, intimate episode. We didn't publicize this episode, making sure that we had the intimacy that we have today. There's a lot of energy going on with the telepathic teams right now, with the consciousness within the community, within the response that we're getting. And when I talk about response, what I mean by that is people that are very sensitive, people that are telepathic, energy healers, empaths, we're really getting hit right now. We're getting hit. And gosh, I have so many coming through and saying mental illnesses and and those who have been traumatized. I mean, everyone's going through it. Okay. I'm sorry if I try to put a box. I apologize. And the telepathic team is saying, take that off because everyone's feeling it. Some people are maybe feeling it more right now. And what people are feeling is a lot of emotions that are coming up as we're having so many truths exposed. We're having solar flares exposed, planets exposed, our Schumann resonance is going up. There's hostility, opinions, happiness, divinity, chaos. Everything is coming in right now. It's such a mass that it is very hard if you are somebody who is very authentic and lets your filters down and your guards down and really wants to tap into the whole so that they understand they can help, they can facilitate certain things. It's starting to become a lot. We're seeing illnesses, headaches, nausea, memory loss. The mandala effect is kicking in pretty hard right now. We're seeing shaking of multiple different cities, and this is emotional, this is physical. And Tara and I were talking about it just before the show, is that we're really all just really going through a whole shakedown. And when she said that, I didn't see quite the depths of it, but her son Owen stepped in and he was really showing me how when we were in Florida, there were snowstorms. There were people that were also on the plane or on the airport that were waiting or coming back from Costa Rica, different places in Mexico where there were winter storms that were happening. Coconuts are falling, bananas are falling. So when we're talking about shakedown, we're really talking about the coldness is saying, we're coming through and let go of whatever you can't have. Go into hibernation. It's time to go into self. And a lot of people aren't feeling as social. They are not feeling like they have as much energy. And it's because the world right now is really coming inward, and it's coming inward in so many different directions because the other planets say we're done dealing with Earth. We don't want to deal with your stuff anymore. Creator is like, yeah, some of it might have been my fault, but a lot of you guys made this choice. At this point, Satan's sitting here with a notebook being like, dang, I didn't even think of half this stuff you earthlings are thinking about. We are giving him ideas and nobody wants to deal with it. So right now it's all coming back to us. And it's all coming back to us, and the pressure is coming back to us. The flames, the electromagnetic frequencies, everything is being tossed back to Earth. It's being tossed back into the center of our humanity. And it's forcing us to ask, what do you want to hang on to? What do you want to let go? Who are you really? What are your morals? Where do you stand? There's so much inwardness going in right now. And I think it's a perfect place to step into this inward spot and talk about telepathy. Because truly, what we're seeing around the world right now and how we're seeing all of this different emotions and all this different truth and all these different realities that are happening and unfolding, this is what we see in our everyday today life. This is what we feel. And the pressure is getting more intense for us. We're getting to a point where some of us, our bodies aren't, we're regulating to the point we're shaking more. So many more seizures are happening with my friends. A lot of foot pains are happening with people. People feeling like they're just electronically getting stabbed because there's so many lightning bolts that are coming through the air that we don't understand. And so our world is really needing our support. And that's why so many people, especially in this group, and Carmen, I would love for you to, start a game today and help the world, understand this game that you talked about before we recorded and step into a place of what would it be like if we had telepathy. And she brought up a good point in the last meeting, saying she thinks that it's the most important thing in the world. And I've had that in my head, and I can't walk away from her saying that. I can't walk away from a lot of things that happened this week and a lot of truth that came out this week, to the point it's flipping me into a different character that I've always known I've had to be but never wanted to be, and that's being matriarch to a world of a lot of toddlers, a lot of faithless people, people that don't understand a lot. And so I can't be as joking, I can't be as flowing, and I'm going to take those opportunities. But now is the time to get serious, because we can't wait for it to get worse. We keep saying it, but guys, I've seen worse. I've gone to other countries and it can get worse, a lot worse. And if we just step up and say it's not going to be, and we make the change in ourselves, and that's all the world needs. Can I just say that? If you really, truly, truly, truly want to heal the world, the one way to do it is heal yourself. Because if every single person went inward and they healed themselves, we wouldn't have a world of people that want to serve their energy and their time on to others, and they would be able to maintain their own sacred energy, which would make sacred lands, what would make sacred people, and would make a sacred world. You have it within you. You have it within you. And I believe in you. And I'm never not going to believe in you. As long as you are alive, I'm going to believe that you have the ability. And I know you can. So that being said, we're going to talk about telepathy. We're going to talk about how we can move and group through these hard times that we're going to be going through in our life, because it is going to get worse. But as it gets worse, there can be people like us who take what is bad and we make that worse lessons so it can get better. And that's our responsibility in this world. And that is why the telepathic community is on the rise. And that being said, Carmen, why would telepathy heal the world and help the world and completely change it?
Yeah, so I think most people are on this call or watching this because they're either have telepathy or they want to get telepathy, right? I think that's why a lot of us join this group, and some of them are parents so that they can talk to their kids who are non-speakers, but some people like me who um, just want to learn, right? As well. So I I guess when I listened to the telepathy tapes, one of the things that was said by one of the non-speakers was that you can't lie if you have telepathy. There's no lying, right? So when I thought about that, even just the not lying, not just the telepathy, because the telepathy is important, but that aspect of it, if no one could lie, or you could lie, but people would know, right? And it would be like kind of pointless to lie if everybody would know, I think. So, what would change in the world? What would change in the world if everybody had telepathy? And I think it'd be fun to like go around to everybody and even on the call today and um, talk about how they think the world would be different.
Well, I will have to say one thing is that lying is not even a possibility in telepathy. And just want to say that, but I want you to answer that question first, and then we'll open it
Okay.
up.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
All right. So Like, one thing is you wouldn't have to raise your right hand in a court, because if you were speaking telepathy, right? Um, you probably wouldn't need um, the media. That's not even really just saying the truth or not the truth specifically. Why would you need the media if we could all talk to everybody at once? Right? We would know, or we would just inquire about what's going on and we would get the data. There'd be no slanting back and forth. So I think all of the media would go away. It would look completely, it wouldn't be bodies of companies giving us the information. So that would be one. Um, I think crime would be a lot less. I mean, how could you kidnap somebody unless you could just turn off not being telepathic? Maybe that happens where you can decide not to communicate telepathically, but you know, crimes, I don't know if crimes would happen anymore because people would know who did them, right? Governments, would you really need most of what the government does, right? Would we need that? Those are just a few that come to mind. I can probably keep naming stuff too. I didn't want to take all the easy ones for everybody.
All right. I know Carrie has her hand up and Mason is over there ready to talk too. So, Carrie, let's go over to you.
Oh, I'm so excited. My gifts are exploding. So this conversation is just so much fun. Like, oh my God, therapy would be transformed. Like I'm holding space for this family. And eventually when I just like popped in there, I was like, oh, I was like, I see you and I see you and I see this and I see this. And I was like, boom, here you go. And it was like, there's no guessing. You're just in it with them. And you could just see like the whole family dynamics. Cause like for a while I couldn't see it. And then all of a sudden I was finally like let in and it's been driving me nuts. And I saw it from like a higher level. And then like I guess the next level is like pulling down our higher aspects to bring in this solutions is really what like I'm kind of honing in now. But like damn, it's like whole new like therapy sessions, like family therapy sessions. Like I'm like, can I be a therapist? And like can therapy just like transform and bring in like the energetic telepathic connection? Because then you're just sitting in everybody's stuff and nobody needs to lie, nobody can hide anything. And I'm just like, cut the BS. And I'm like, this is it, this is it. Bam. Right? How much easier is it to see it? Oh, it's the good stuff.
I love it, Carrie. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. So we have someone in the comments asking, and it just states, people can't lie, but people can speak telepathically with bad intention. The answer to that would determine what the world would be like. So there is different ways to reach the mind. And the mind has different access points. The body has different access points. And telepathy is an alternating current and a shared communication that is done with the purest of communication and the purest of intentions. People have tried, and I can tell you it's a lot of what I'm going through right now and what my friends are going through right now, that as people are understanding that telepathy is a thing, that there are satanic places and there are people that do try to put curses on people and they do try to infiltrate the telepathic fields. It is such a divine connection that it cannot be touched. There is nothing that bad can come in through telepathy. So telepathy itself, always safe, always loving, always serving for the whole, never serving for self. It would not ask questions about, like I've heard people say, well, I want to know about my success or I want to know about my career. They wouldn't, it's not something that telepathy would necessarily answer because it's not serving for the whole. It Telepathy is divine consciousness. If I were to put telepathy in a description, it is divine consciousness shared with communities. I apologize, guys. Now there's mind reading. Mind reading is when somebody goes into your mind and tries to read your thoughts. That's intrusive, that's invasive. That can be done with bad intentions. People can also put thoughts into your mind if you're not paying attention. This is where intrusive thoughts come from. A lot of times it is different entities, different energies. It could be ghosts. It could even be people talking about you that those things come from. There is remote viewing where you can see and sometimes overhear people's thoughts. But telepathy itself is a sacred communication. It can never be burdened or broken. And the moment that we step into it, and I guess, sorry, Mason, I'm going to answer. He wants to talk about life and death. So we're going to talk about this for a little bit because I love this question. What I absolutely love about telepathy is it's a full body experience. And in that full body experience, you are not allowed to be fully separated from somebody else. And in that, connecting to somebody else would instinctually want you to help you. You would instinctually want to help them because you would know how bad it feels inside. It would take away bullying. It would take away any bad words. It would take away bad thoughts. It would take away any kind of crimes, anything that would hurt anybody. And not only would it take away anything that would hurt, but it would do its best to take the hurt away from anybody. It is the most empathetic communication that I have ever felt in my life. And when you are doing telepathy, and there is a certain point, and it's not always, but there is a point that when you reach telepathy fully with somebody in a full embodiment of senses, both of you release from the body and it becomes a euphoric state. No health issues are involved. No family trauma is involved. Nothing's involved. It's like it just wipes your energy clean. And I'm going to hold off Mason. He's like, don't you say what you're going to say because it was what he wants to talk about. So I'm going to invite Mason in right now. So Chrissy, if you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, sure. What's going on?
All right. So Mason wants to bring up the fact that it wouldn't only help us. I love how animated he gets when he starts talking. uh, he's like, okay, yes, it's me. I got to look proper. And he straightens himself up. But he was saying not only does it help us, but it would instinctually help our ancestors because we would understand what they went through. We would understand life and death. We would understand creator and our spirit guides, and we would have our initial language back before we decided to burden it. And we would be able to reset Earth. Brandon saying, yes, yes, yes. And we would be able to reset Earth in the divine way that it was supposed to be, where the communication was symbiotic, not filtered. Everyone felt ourselves. Everyone felt animals. They felt what fruits they could take when they could take it. They understood the trees when they needed to be relieved. They understood the earth. So it would bring us back to our divine coding, and it would put us back to the reset of humanity. That was Mason, not Melissa. I mean, man. I don't know how
That
to
was
top
fascinating.
I don't know how to top that one, guys, but we're gonna keep playing the game. Holy cow. Holy cow. Brandon's gonna hit on this really soon, but Christy, you got anything to add? You're playing
Yeah,
the
no,
game too.
well, what I want to say is, so last week, he had that quote, and I don't remember the exact quote, but it resonated with me because I've been very fearful about talking about
telepathy and things like that openly because of fear of judgment. So I felt like that quote was very appropriate towards me, but everyone else too. So I feel like there was a reason why he said it. And it's something that I'm trying to work through. And I think he's trying to help me work through that to try to get me to, you know, speak freely and not feel so fearful and, judged. And I think that's part of the issue is a lot of people are scared to begin with, but they need to sort of find a way to work through that fear and realize that on the other side, there's no lying and it's just a beautiful thing once you get there. But I'm still trying to work through all that.
So, he's saying this with so much heart that it's gonna. I was almost like, I don't want to do you, Mason, today. My head's hurting too much, and I knew he was coming in with this. Um, sorry, the words are so powerful, but it's so short. But like, Mom, I already know everything about you and everything you've been and everything you've ever thought, and I still love you. I chose you
Oh, buddy.
knowing that you were going to make faults, but you haven't faulted me ever. And I want you to know that I love you and I will never judge you. Telepathy doesn't judge. You're just putting up walls between us that are causing distance because you think that I don't already see you 100% of the way. Okay, someone else talk.
Thank you for that. I'm sorry. I think a lot of the judgment is my own, thinking that other people are going to judge, and it's so horrible. But he's the only person that matters in terms of that because he's the one that I'm telepathically communicating with. But thank you so much for that, Mason, and thank you, Melissa, for helping deliver that message. That was beautiful.
Oof. All right, who's next on this game here? Brandon, you next?
Okay.
Oh, yeah, he was ready. Oh, Brandon, you're so sweet. Can you unmute there, Brenda?
There we go.
All right. Brandon he's just a sweet. He's like, I love what my friend said. I love it. But I also want to tap down on, oh, this is a deep one too. You guys are good at this game. Dang. If every single person felt telepathy and understood it, every single person in the world would feel love. And they would get the purpose of life.
Mhm.
Is that all, Brandon?
Mhm.
Short and sweet, huh? Okay. Okay, Tara, take it away.
I was just gonna talk about the restructuring. Um, I mean, like we used to live in a different way. We used to be close to our we would have these like core groups and we would be very like tribes, right? And I was just kind of playing with the idea when you guys said no government, it's like I guess we wouldn't need government, but also like people's opinions on if it would go back to something like that because we would want to have I don't know, we would I don't know. I feel like now we're like so connected to so many people. It's so overwhelming. And then you're gonna have like your telepathy where you could hear everybody, but it might be so much because now we're already dealing with that with the internet. So how is it gonna work with the restructuring? And again, this is just, I'm asking, I'm not, I just we're just postulating, like how it would be, how society would be restructured.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be a governmentless system. It would still be some kind of system that would need a sort of controller perimeters, because there's no society that will ever live, or that has ever lived, no animal kingdom that has ever lived without some sort of construct. And I'm handing it right over to Peter because he's got the answer.
I not on that, but I'll talk.
Tag, you're it.
I think I'm basically just piggybacking a little bit of what was previously said, but um, if there was telepathy amongst everybody, there wouldn't be any emotional pretense. There wouldn't be any like phoniness. There wouldn't be any need, or there's no shield. There's no hiding behind. I remember someone put this in the Facebook question, and my answer, I think it was more business related. What business would fail? And I said fashion. Fashion, in every aspect of fashion. Fashion is just masking. It's masking behind clothing or makeup or whatever it may be. It's pretending that we are not who we really are. And I'm not knocking fashion entirely, because fashion in many ways can accentuate who we are. It can make us feel better, or show how we feel more so. But a lot of the time fashion is just a means to hide behind. So I think there would just be no emotional pretense. And I think a lot of us probably already have this. I'm not telepathic in ways that, like we're generally talking about here, but I can dial into someone's emotion immediately, sometimes from a distance. I can't hear them, but I know them immediately, and they are not what they appear or the front to most people. And a lot of people don't see it, they don't feel it. They fool a lot of people. And I get it. I'm not necessarily criticizing them doing that. It's a protective measure of trauma and all this. But wouldn't it be wonderful if there was no need for that? Everybody knew everybody's emotional state. So people could actually help. People could actually go, oh, this person is really hurting. Let's focus. Let's help this person. So that's kind of the way. And I don't think we're far from that. I don't know if that's even necessarily um, we need to be telepathic in the big sense to achieve that. I think we just need to be more, display more empathy and truthfulness. Um, that's almost within grasp, but a lot of people don't don't want to be emotionally truthful. Um, I mean, this is part of the masking, but I think a lot of people don't want to be emotionally truthful to the point of just opening themselves up to someone else's emotions. So it's not the truthful of the inward out, but the outward in, because it's hard. It's hard to feel someone else's pain. But when you open up to it, it's it's like a beacon. It's a light that you can't turn off. And think I think it'd be wonderful if people just were to be emotionally truthful to enable that sense of empathy coming inwards. I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, wow. You hit on a lot. First of all, Tara, I didn't mean to sidetrack your question there, but all societies just have structure, and it just wouldn't be the structured as in it's one authority. Even when you look at chiefs, when you look at elders, when you look at societies that are functioning societies, they still have people that are more connected than others. You still have people that can lift versus people that can think, hunt versus pick berries, do all this other stuff, cut wood, work on the garden. So if we ended up with telepathy, the structure of the government would shut down in the way that a certain select is getting all of the power. Now, in saying that, what I think is really funny is if the government actually worked in the way for the people, they would be so much more powerful. We would have so much more power and so much more strength in the United States. And spirituality is something that they are very much lacking. I'm watching some of these things and they're just talking over each other like they're little high school people and not even answering questions. We wouldn't have that. We wouldn't have courts. We wouldn't even have crimes because people wouldn't do things onto each other. They would just know that truth. But then when we want to talk about empathy, and you were just talking about that, Pete, and you said, that we're getting close. We already are there. And I just want to point that out. We already are to a point where every single person has empathy. Whether or not they accept that empathy or not is up to them. Empathy, I believe, is number one tool for humanity because that lets us know where other people are. And I also love the fact that you brought up pain and how it's hard to look at other people's pain. I will tell you, I love looking at other people's pain. And it's not because I actually enjoy people being in pain, but when you actually allow somebody to be in pain, the amount of transformation, creation, potential that comes from that pain is miraculous. And the amount of light, and I love that you brought that up, that comes from pain is something that actually serves creator. And it's a hard concept to think about. But when you think about the initiation to life, it's when mom first has pain. What's the first thing that a baby has to do? Squeeze through a little thing. They're not very comfortable coming into this world, and when we think about all of the times that creator actually is there for us, it's not in the good spots. It's a lot of times in the pain. It's in the darkness. It's where we can have counsel and going, and I love the counseling aspect of it is yeah, we would be able, I don't even think that there would be counseling. It would just be untangled and we would just know. But it also it takes away a lot of the mystery, some of that mystery. And I think that would be an issue bigger than the government is what are we going to do with, man, no, I'm not. Okay, thank you, Brandon. I was gonna say, what are we gonna do with the boredom? And Brandon's like, we have like 1,000 ideas, right, Mason? We have enough inventions that we deal with. So, anyways, thank you for those points. I just wanted to talk back on that. And Scott had his hand up, and then we're going back to Carmen.
So there's something all of us, I'm going to venture to say, every one of us uses every single day. It's actually on all the time in our background, whether you realize you're using it or not, which will be completely unnecessary, which is autocorrect, which I call autocorrupt, which is constantly telling us what we thought we meant to say and correcting it. And then we have to go back and recorrect it. That's why I call it autocorrupt. But the whole concept of algorithms and technology trying to say what society thinks and does and what their structure is, the whole industry of autocorrect evaporates. Anyway, that's it. It was just a real simple concept, but you don't realize how much that's running in your background all the time.
You are correct there. You are correct.
I'm corrupt. I mean, correct. Okay.
Choose your mirror. I don't know. I'm sorry. Owen was saying something, and then I totally got sideswiped and knocked him out. We're gonna go to Carmen, Owen, and then we'll come back to you. Okay.
So I'm going to get down into the weeds, and this is the pun intended. I was thinking about farming, gardening, farming, agriculture. And so would you need pesticides and herbicides if you could talk to the bugs and you could talk to the plants? I grew up on a farm, and, that does those grasshoppers, I'm sure they're there for some reason, but it surely escapes me as to why they're actually even on the planet chewing up all the food, right? So maybe being able to have conversations with the bugs about, okay, at least to negotiate with them, like, why are you here? What's your purpose? Are we getting your purpose met? Why we're trying to grow this food or do this other thing? So I think I think herbicides and pesticides might go away if we're able to like make a deal with all of the weeds to like you can grow over here but don't grow over here, or the bugs eat this stuff or will give you this stuff to eat if you leave this stuff alone. I don't know, that's where some of my thoughts are going. I think about stuff like this a lot, so I just keep adding more things to the list of what would change. Oh, and with, even animals, you know, taking care of those, or I guess that falls within the agriculture industry too.
I
Yeah,
love
mute.
that you actually said that. Sorry. I was actually doing some data research here because, Professor Owen, he's got to make sure it's right. Yeah, I love that you actually talked about that because that was exactly what Owen was going to talk about, was the agriculture and how we would be so advanced that we would not need a lot of the technologies that we need today. And so Earth would be at such peace, because when we advance and we put our energy onto something other than opinions and fighting and lies and worries and all the other stuff, and we take out these negative emotions, then what we get is we get a pure palette of potential. He is showing me that people would be flying. People would be putting their hand over each other and just putting their and healing each other. He was talking about the bugs and the insects and the animals and how we would actually be feeding off of energy so nicely that we would all become vegetarians, and all of the animals would be able to get along because it would cure all of the fighting. Everyone would know exactly what's happening, that their digestive system would actually retreat, and as would ours, into not eating each other, because we would be able to feed off of the energy more than trying to feed off of the words and feeding off other things. We wouldn't even have a lot of the grocery stores. And, when you're going back to, sorry, Owen's going all over. And then also I have to have the human side. You were talking about the companies and whatnot, and Owen said there would be a full financial collapse in every aspect, and people would go crazy for a little bit until they can, or it's, sorry, the idea of going into a financial collapse seems crazy until you get on the telepathic line, and then you would understand how money has corrupted so much. We wouldn't need that anymore. People would just fill in their spots. He's showing what is that? Robots from Disney. See a need, fill a need. It would just be like that. If you see something, you would fill it, because the energies would be symbiotic. It would be the circle of life, like the lion. He's very going movies, like the Lion King, and how everybody was just in unison. And he's saying we would just know the plants. We wouldn't even necessarily have to eat them. We could ask them for an exchange in that energy, and we could sit by them. It wouldn't even need possibly that was me saying possibly. I know, Owen. I'm sorry. I was like, possibly. He's like, no, I'm not saying possibly. You're saying possibly. We would actually not need to eat. We would be vegetarian in the form of energy and just sitting in front of a plant, and the plant would gift what we need. This doesn't make sense to a lot of people because the concepts aren't there. But if we all got into that unison, energy would shift and our bodies would naturally sync up with Earth and things. And the way that people do when they are really connecting, when they're going for hikes, how hungry are you? When you are really connecting to creator, are you really connected when you're bogged down with food? No. And he's showing that there would be so many more. I mean, he's going through medical and being like, so much medical would be done from this, because we would just know what's wrong with each other's body. The doctors would be able to fix it right away because they would be able to feel it. There wouldn't be labs, there wouldn't be diagnosis in the ways, there wouldn't be the x-rays, as we would need those obviously for affirmations, Owen, but he's just saying people would just know. So there would be so much collapse and so much, which would give the opportunity for Earth to rest again.
That makes sense.
And yeah, Zan, why don't you go next? And I love your question in the comments here too. I'm gonna hand it over to you.
Hold on. Okay. I was wondering if you things we could incorporate any of that energy exchange now with plants. Like, does the shift that he was saying have to happen first? Or could we like go sit next to plants and see if we can like get any of that? It almost feels like education on how to use, it's almost like like on how to use the sun, like for as like they do, or exchange the energy that they get from the sun. So yeah, is there any way that we can like start to incorporate stuff like that right now, or is there that shift that has to happen first in all of humanity?
No, it's already started to happen in a few already. We see a lot of different monks, and especially India is having a big rise right now, and people not eating and for years. I mean, they're going 40 years no food right now is one of the 40 some, and I should know this one because of it's in our documentary. But it was actually asked then, how is he eating? And I I had to look into that one, and it was he's eating off of the energy by just thinking about eating that and taking that in. And so that is something that we can do. I also have a friend, Brent Davis, and that gentleman knows how to take a laser light to a flower, and then he puts water, and it just takes the essence and the DNA that actually follows through the light and goes into the water, so that we no longer have to even do essential oils. And I tell you, his products are phenomenal. It's amazing. And it takes one rose and you can make 500 of his floral lives is what it's called, rather than 500 rose petals to make one essential oil. I'm completely in love with his products. I stand by him. Side note, this is not a sponsor, but when I went to Harvard and got a talk, there was this vortex of flowers that were in the middle of the speaking stage, and it didn't make sense because there weren't windows that were around, they weren't open, it was just a closed room. There was no, I mean, nothing around that was live plants at all. And I'm looking, and there's flowers just spinning in the air. And we get up to break, and somebody says to me, because I had already spoke, they already knew what I was doing, and they said, so do you see anything strange in the room? And I said, yeah, there's like a circle, a little portal of like flowers going on, and it doesn't make sense because it's nature. It shouldn't be in here. I don't know how it got in here. Somebody must have put it here. And this guy hears me and he goes, wait, what do you see? Where do you see it? And I said, right here. And I said, and you can see when the speakers are talking and they get in this circle, they get really animated, and then they get out of this space and they don't. And I walked in it the moment that somebody took a picture, and I went in it, and my hair was actually like up and flying in this portal that I was in. And the guy goes, can I spray something and you see if it's this? And I go, yeah. And he sprayed it. And I said, that's it. And I said, I have never seen a living flower without its body before, but the body, but it was still alive. It was still attached to something that was alive. And he said, because I never cut anything. And then he did a speech, and it made sense because he never has to cut the flower. So if the flower is still alive, the energy of that flower is still there, and it does dramatic changes on the body. Floral Alive, y'all try it out.
Oh
There's
my
a
gosh,
certain
so cool.
product called Clear, and it clears. It clears better than sage, better than tobacco, better than incense. I mean, his product Clear clears, and it clears energy. So just anyway, so yes, you can transfer. Yes, you can get the essence from DNA, because the DNA will just build the minerals in your body. And yeah, we can already stop that process. But also, let's go with your answer to the game question.
Which is what would need be null and void if telepathy. I think about this a lot. I think just like what's funny is like I have the the like I'm painfully honest all the time to a fault. And you mean what you say? And they're like, I mean, kind of. And I'm like, no, all the way. And so I would just be like, I would be giddy to be in a world where like people just said what they meant and meant what they said. Oh, just that would be amazing. But anyway, so I just like to think of a world where just the day-to-day stuff is just gonna be like just lovely. The acquaintances, the friendship, the bonds will be just like so deep and true. And so on a like not as like structural sense, just the day-to-day stuff, I think would be lovely.
That's a really good point, that the whole world would actually be friends. And Owen's reminding me also, guys, I did not talk about the research he just had me do. He's like, so anyways, Carmen, the bugs are around because we take their home and we take their resources, which would not happen if we had telepathy. We are in a place where there's cities and we stripped all of the forest for our houses. They don't have anywhere to go. Owen had me look it up, and the answer to his question was, just check out the last 10,000 years of forest destruction. It said that it was 489 million hectares. Then I had to check up what a hectare was, and it said a hectare is 100 acres or 10,000 square feet. So if you think about just that alone, that should answer the question of why we have so many animals and bugs in the city, because we took over 489 million hectare acres. So yeah, they don't have anywhere to go. But we would listen to the trees. Guys, you would not be able to cut down a tree if you had telepathy. You would just hear it and you would hear its pain. Like you can actually ask Tara this one. I had a very traumatic moment with a tree. And the tree, I was in Florida, and I was walking to the beach, and I literally heard this tree screaming. I had a panic attack. I could not rest. This tree was like screaming for help. I ended up finding this tree, finding out there was like chains in the tree. It was chained to a bunch of other trees, and like the tree was bleeding because there was chain in it. Like it grew around the chain. And I just sat there crying with my friend. I have so much video of it. And we're just like pounding away and like chipping away at this tree, just trying whatever we can do to get as much of the chain out. And I forgot about the tree, honestly. Like that day happened and I forgot about it. And we were up parasailing. And I'm up on this parasail 2 years later, maybe 3 years later, I don't quite remember, but we're parasailing and I'm up there in this ocean and I hear this tree scream, "Thank you." And I'm like, what? And I look down and I realize, because where we boarded was not where I came on the beach before. And that tree was screaming at me while I'm up on this parasail in the ocean, and it's saying, "Come with me." And I made Tara and Owen and all of them. I was like, I have to see this tree. I cannot leave without seeing this tree. I made them go across the bridge and go, a few blocks down. And we went to this tree, and this tree spoke to everyone. and it was so happy, and it had healed, and it was saying thank you, and my babies were able to grow more, and all of the babies that had the chains had completely healed. Mom had one chain in her which was so embedded I couldn't get it out, that was still in there, but and when I say blood, it was like actual red sap coming off around this. There was no blood around it. That tree like spoke. That's how I learned how to heal, is sitting and talking and hugging a tree. That's how I actually learned how to heal the best. I kept asking God for a healer, and it had me hug a tree. And when I hugged the tree showed me how earth heals people and how creator heals people. And it was much different than what I was taught in Reiki. And listening to that tree has benefited my life. We wouldn't have any cutting of anything like that. We would hear them, and if they were willing to give the sacrifice, we would honor them in ways that their bodies were sacrificed, so that we know what an honor it was that we were able to eat and feed from it. Long rant, sorry. Okay, Melody, coming over to you.
I don't know. Do I have something to say? I'm just enjoying all of that. And yeah, and I guess the only thing I have to say is just authenticity just comes to mind for me around this topic. So yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the biggest word that can be said, though, too. Great one. Anita, would you like to talk on this?
Sorry, I'm eating my dinner, so I was stuffing my face. I'm sorry. I I was thinking with telepathy, one of the big things would be because we have so many misunderstandings when we talk. Even with our vocal inflections and different things, what I say and what I'm trying to communicate is often not what is heard by whoever it is that is the receiver. And I think that would be such a big thing in telepathy to get past. I mean, to all of that misunderstanding, because a lot of times people get upset with each other when they really didn't have any difference in the first place. They just didn't understand what was being said. So, anyway, that's my 2 cents.
No, you're right. That's truth for sure. Bertha. Hello, love.
Hey, I'm sorry everyone. I just need to be in the dark right now, but I think one of the most important things, and I'm just sensing into that because I'm clearly not a big telepathic master by any stretch, but I feel like one of the most important things is that telepathy seems to necessitate true listening, and that's not something that's common. And I think that true listening also naturally moves us away from a human-centric point of view, because everything is speaking with us and we're just ignoring it. And we're so self-centered that we don't even acknowledge that we are ignoring. And it's not like telepathy ever disappeared. It's just a very large part of the world decided to ignore it because it was not going to serve the power structures. But let me tell you, I have met people that never forgot. I have been in the family of a curandera who would work in the morning, and then she put her grandchild on her back and said, "Come with me." And in slippers, we went down a ravine, and she said, "You must take the afternoon off and you must speak with the trees." And she was teaching her child, her grandchild, how to walk among the plants and speak with them. And I hardly heard any words. She was listening. So that's how the guinea pigs opened up to her to tell her what was ailing others, why they willingly gave up their lives. That's why she could look out at the mountain and it spoke with her and guided her. That's how the ancestors were always with her. It never disappeared. We just decided we didn't want to take part anymore. So I'm just so grateful to the collective for reaching out, because for us human centrics, having beings that we identify as humans as the ambassadors, I think is really important, because most people are not going to stop for a tree. But I know you all communicate with them and water and more than I know. So yeah, I look forward to true listening. So thank you. Love you all.
I like that one. That's beautiful. And going to even Trina, as you were telling that story, um, I'm just thinking about even grass. When I'm just walking barefoot, a lot of people will ask, how do you know where to walk? How are you not getting hurt? How are you not getting, I mean, I'll walk into stores. I'm crazy like that. I think shoes are jail cells for my feet. So anytime I can get my shoes off, they're off. But my response is always, the grass tells me where to walk. It tells me where I can walk. And I think about that sometimes when I put my shoes on, and I'm not having that communication, and I'm not respecting it, because it's not able to tell me, and that rubber stops the communication between the land and my body sometimes. So then I have to pay more attention to where I'm going, but it still kind of stops that. So the lands even tell you where to go and where to step, and doing that through telepathy, it really shows you what is sacred and what is okay to be tainted by other things' energy. And it also helps things grow better and gives better energy for your house, for your land, and everything around it. So there's a lot that would even go into, even, people walking around a certain area would naturally, with that respect, make it a sacred portal. And not that they would mean, to do it right away or have to. It would just be enough people giving that respect and going around, that energy would become sacred and open up for everyone walking around it rather than through it. Miss Brenda, coming over to you.
So the first words that come to my mind are active listening, holding space, empathy, compassion, and unconditional love, like Brandon was saying. So I think you need all those. Yeah.
Most definitely. And compassion actually overtakes empathy, so that you don't have to worry about other people's energy. You just want to help fix it, and you want to help be part of it. And I think I said it, but if I didn't, I don't know why. I feel like I need to say it again. But, again, telepathy, as Anne had said, the friendships and the bonds, being telepathic, everybody would be bonded. Everyone would be friends. But we would have that compassion, that empathy, and that love, that instinct to take care of each other, and what other people need would become immediate. So, it is very important, and it is something that we all do need to strive for and act upon when we can. And that being said, what questions do you all have about telepathy? And maybe, sorry, I just asked that question, then I'm going to backtrack on that, because Pete had actually said something that I was actually going to ask people. And I know Chrissy also really stepped in on that too, is one of the first things that we need to do is really be comfortable with ourselves, because when we're looking at telepathy, that a lot of people will shut down because they're afraid of other people looking in their thoughts. I will tell you, I am working with somebody right now who, if put in front of any church going person, would say they are they are very ungodly. And that being said, they have done ungodly things, but they are actually a good person. And what they did was in their marriage, and it wasn't physically hurting anyone, it wasn't doing whatever, but he was somebody who is really trying to become telepathic, and he did something that maybe others would say is completely ungodly. Does God say that? That's between him and God, and I'm not going to say, and it's not my choice, and I love that I don't have to judge. And but what I do have to do is listen. And he's somebody who was very close to some people that we were working with that did telepathy. And when this happened, he was like, oh my gosh, they're going to know. That he started shutting down. He started, not showing up in the group. He wasn't talking to a lot of the people. He wasn't even coming, even when we were in meetings that he was called to, and there was specific data and stuff having to do with him. He still didn't show up because he thought that maybe everyone was going to see and everyone was going to know. And it got to a point where I just had to say, of course we know. Of course we saw. But of course we don't care, because telepathy is not here to judge you. Telepathy is not going to shut down because you did something dumb. Telepathy is a line for anybody to speak on when they need safety and clarity. And it's not to talk about gossip. It's not to hurt anyone. In fact, the more sins that you have done, the more shame, the more guilt, the more sadness. We want that, guys. We're coming by the thousands seeking that right now. And we're seeking it because we want to help it. And if you don't come to us with your problems, we feel it and we get confused because we don't know whose problem it is. Is it mine? Is it yours? So it's so much easier if somebody just comes up and says, hey, it's me. I'm not feeling good. I'm not feeling happy and I need a little help, because then I can direct that attention and we can heal each other. Because the thing that I've learned about humanity is the way that people heal the best is by helping others heal. When you can see that you have made a positive change in somebody else's life, it gives you value to your own. And telepathy understands that. And so telepathy loves helping people. We love it. We want you all to be on that. And I'll say, if you think you're the worst criminal in the world, get on our dang line. Experience what love and true compassion and empathy is, so that you can feel it in your bones and change your life. Because once you feel it, once you truly understand it, you'll see what a sacred place it is to hang in. There's not even place for fear. There's not place for a lot of the emotions that we have. But all of the words that Brenda just said, we got room for all of that. And that's what telepathy is. Everything she just said. She's watched it. She's felt it. So with that, I challenge each and every one of you this week to truly be honest with yourself. Take away the emotions and put the reality in front of you. And when you put the reality in front of you and emotions come up, face those emotions, deal with them, become accountable. See how the aspects in your life that were painful or seemed like they didn't work for you, make it work for you. Change the thought. I can tell you, I've been through it all. I've been through all of the abuses, the physical, the sexual, the emotional, the social, all of it. And I'll tell you that every single thing that I have been through and everything I will go through are all lessons. And when you take them as lessons, there's a certain pride that comes. Yeah, I did that. And I'm going to own up to it because I learned from it. I took that class. I'm not proud I took that class, but I took that class. And the more honest that you are with yourself, guys, I promise you, the more you're actually going to love yourself. Because when everybody gets down to the deepest core of themselves, everybody's good. It's just the stuff on the outside and the thoughts that make you anything less. And falling in love with yourself allows everyone else to fall in love with you. It allows clear communication, release, openness, wisdom, gratitude in ways you've never felt it before. It's okay that you screwed up. It's okay that others screwed up. That's life, and it sucks. And we've allowed it to be that way. But when we look in ourselves and we take accountability, we can stop the patterns. We can stop the behaviors. We can change the trajectory of our time and what we're going to do. Because now we hit reality. And when we hit reality, there's a certain part in you that pulls a trigger and says, change it. And that's what we need right now. Accountability and change and responsibility. And people saying, whoa, okay, I fucked up. Sorry, guys, I just did it. Shouldn't have swore. But you know what? We're going to move past it. We're going to laugh. We're going to say, whoops, I'm not going to do it again. Maybe I will. If I do, I'll say sorry too. But I'll try not to. And that's okay. And keep up with that pattern. Because if you keep screwing up, and try not to again. And you know what? Give yourself that grace because we're baking patterns and patterns, even if you see it. So, like, think about life as like a little gear wheel, right? In order to break a pattern fully, it has to crack first. And then it comes back. And you're like, dang it, it's not all the way gone. And then it cracks a little bit more. So you might have to screw up a few times. And then finally, that little tooth is gone. And then the other teeth will start breaking. And then it's just going to be a smooth ride. And the patterns won't be working like they used to before. You'll be free from the grind, free from the machines, free to be yourself. Love yourself, see yourself, and then be accepting of others seeing you. Because truly, other people can't love you until you love yourself or you accept yourself. Other people can't accept you until you accept yourself. And you're doing the world an injustice if you don't step into yourself fully, because then you're just lying to the world. You don't get to present them with the real you. And I will tell you guys, that's the saddest thing I've ever seen in my whole life is people that are dead that never got to live. And they're still living. Their bodies are alive and their spirits are dead. And the thing that I see all the time, the first thing, I tell you, it is always the first thing. And any death that I ever witnessed was, wow, I wish I would have loved more. I wish I would have connected more. I wish I would have cared more. I wish I would have loved myself more if I would have known better. So this week, allow yourself to feel. And what does that feel like? What does fully feeling yourself and looking at yourself actually look like? And then what does the world look like? And be honest. If it makes you happy, be happy. If it makes you sad, allow yourself 5 minutes for crying. Well, we're going through it. We got to process it. And when you can say, you know what? I'm ready to tell it all. I'm ready to say everything. I'm going to lay it all out there and everyone can know anything about me, any truth, anything. As scary as it sounded, it's so freeing. I don't need to worry about it anymore. You can call yourself out. Just started a podcast this week. I'm going to say it all. I'm exposing myself. And I'm going to expose others too. And if you don't want to be part of my horrible stories, then don't be a horrible person. And sorry, I'm not going to save people's back this time. I'm tired of protecting other people so that I can be miserable. If you're doing something miserable to me and you don't want to be a villain in my story, then get out of my story and don't be a villain. If you want to be in my story and be a good person, then be a good person. You get to choose how you get to be in my life and how you show up. And you get to choose who you get to be yourself. Do you want to be a hero to yourself? Do you want to be a savior? Or do you want to be a victim? Because you can't be all three to yourself. So choose which one you want to be. If you don't want to be the victim, then you know what? Everything that happened to me happened for a reason. If you want to be a hero, then dang it, look at what I went through and I got myself through, and that independence took me here, and I got to save my own life because nobody else stepped in to do that for me. Be proud of yourself then, but don't do it with ego. If you want to be a savior and you feel like you need to help yourself and then also help the world, then do that and go through the hard lessons and walk yourself through the steps of what it would be like to be your own Messiah, giving yourself your own advice, giving yourself the own way, not having to go out publicly and seek it, but instead seek the relationship between you and source and whatever that means, and then know that it's divinely cared for. Choose your own character in your own mind, in your own life. And I'm giving you permission right now. I'm not saying gossip, but if there are things that were bad that happened to you that can show people where you came from and who you are today and help build you up, then talk about that pain. Don't go talking about how horrible that person was that put you through it, but talk about the experience and how you grew from it. Because there's a difference in that storyline. So when we go into our true emotions, we don't want to be pointing fingers at people. We want to say, thank you for making our life so horrible because you made our life better. Because I don't want to be like you. I don't want to make the same mistakes. I don't want to look like that. I felt so horrible that I never wanted anyone else to feel like that. Thank you. Go ahead, Carrie.
Hello. Me again. So I just realized I'm on my wobble machine. I was like, that's not gonna work. Me talking on my wobble machine. I really want to expand that out. You saying that like don't be like being mad at the person that did something bad. And I've talked about it many times is like we forget we all came from God and source, and that person we sat up there at some point and had that conversation with them that they agreed that they were going to do that experience with us, whatever it is. And it's like, and just knowing that like they had to lower their vibration so much to do that for us. And when you can hold that compassion for that darkness and remember like who we are, that truest soul, like damn, like you get up there and you're like, holy moly, like it is like so forgiving and so enlightening and so easy. And it's not, like from a human perspective, it's not saying that it's right or that it's wrong, but it's just remembering who that person is in their divine truth of their soul. And like the repercussions of lowering your vibration, like karmically, can, who knows, like how that person is then going to go on and exist in doing that for us. So just remembering that, like, that person freaking loves you so, so much that they would just come in and hold that dark space for you. And that's really, I don't know how everybody else feels like that, but that's where I've gotten in my clarity and my forgiveness of things that have happened to me. So, yeah.
Thank you for
That's it.
sharing that. Oh, and you're absolutely right. And if anyone's read The Ancestors Within, no, sorry, The Ultimate Guide to Healing, I wrote actually a story about that. And uh, I went into this emotional healing and I was going to go heal my parents because they had done these awful things to me and they needed healing. Or sorry, opposite. I needed healing. The little girl in me needed healing because of what my parents had done to me. Was the vision that I had going into this ceremony with myself was poor Melissa, little girl Melissa, she needs to be saved, and her parents were not being nice to her. So go heal her and go heal this inner child. And I went to go heal her, and I saw her so full of light. She pushed me back and said, I don't need healing. Don't do it to me. And I was like, what do you mean? And she said, I already made it through everything that you made it through. And I've been sitting here being a warrior for you all of these days since, because what you were fighting wasn't yourself, but it was your parents' demons. They need help. Go heal them, because there's no way in heck that any human who is healthy and loved and cared for could have ever done that to a child. And it brought me through a place of what did my parents go through. And that hurt made me realize Melissa never needed healing. It was the parents that needed healing. And when I got to see them for their pain, and I got to see that they hurt so bad that they had to take it out on a child, everything flipped. Because I can't say Melissa needed healing. I couldn't say that I was a victim. I can say that they were put in my life as a reflection for what I was going to be dealing with later in life. And they were the ones that were the victims, not me. So thank you for saying that, Carrie. I saw you take mute out.
No, I agree because my inner child showed me the exact same thing. Like I remembered, and we'd had this conversation. Like I remembered sexual trauma, and she's like, "No, I'm good. I just need you to get it out of your body." And she's like, "I don't need you to really do anything." And I was like, I don't know, it kind of blew my mind. And then you spoke about it, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this is a thing." And it's, you know, like when you reach this higher perspective, it's not denying us of being angry, mad, or sad, or whatever we need to feel towards somebody. It's just, when we're ready to move on through that and feel all of that and have that experience and learn everything that we need to, that next level, it just sort of like puts you up there to then see it from that perspective.
Yeah, exactly. And just what you were saying too, I love they were holding space in those different vibrations. And I don't want to say lower or higher, just different vibrations for us. Because when we look at what people have done, and again, we can either learn from their mistake, or we learn from their habits, or we learn from their mistakes. And what I've learned to do is people that have made the mistakes in life that I am glad I didn't make, I am very thankful that they made it, because I got to witness it. And so therefore I never did it. And so I was able to change the patterns by just witnessing. And a lot of people go through that too, is they'll see something and they change their pattern because they don't want to be that. And if that's something that happened to you and you're going, wow, my parents did this, my parents did that, my parents did this, amazing. I just had a conversation with a gentleman who his father had passed away, and he didn't get a lot of time with his father before he passed. And he was having all of these kind of emotions, and he told me why he didn't hang out with his dad. And I said, well, that's great, because now you'll never have to go to prison, you'll never have to be in addiction, you'll always love people, you're a great people helper. And I got to name all of these things that his dad wasn't, that he said, oh, you know, well, my dad was all these things. And I said, well, are you any of them? And he said, no. And I said, why? Well, because my dad was, and I never wanted to be that. Then let's thank your dad for teaching you the lessons of the things you never have to be, because all the things you hate him for, you'll never have to be in that misery. And so I love that, because when we see other people's stuff, you know, when we see the pain, when we see the truth, when we can actually see it, it's actually not really a problem. It was just in our head until we actually saw it. You know, and going back to what Mason was saying too, is that a lot of the things that we conjure up is just in our head. And it's not even cared about. Like, it's not even talked about. It's like, oh, you did that, we don't care. We know you needed that for growth. So awesome. I'm glad that happened to you. And a lot of things that people are shameful about and saying, well, gosh, I have a lot of, you know, shame and I can't talk about that. If somebody did something onto you, why would you be shameful for what they did? They should be ashamed, not you. Be prideful that you got through it. And if you went through horrible times and you went through a lot and you did it, then speak up about it. Because you shouldn't have to hold it down. You should let it grow you. Use the words coming out of your mouth of what you went through to be nutrients for your soul to create growth. Because it's all potential there. And if it's happened to you, we don't care. We feel proud of you. Like, wow, you went through all that and we get to see that. And you just showed us and you're here today and you're still a kind person. Epic, doggy. Okay, had to go there. Yeah. Scott, I know you wanted to share something today. Would now be an okay time?
Sure, if you have time. I know that I
Yeah.
don't know if this has gone longer than you wanted. I just was going to share at one of the life-changing examples of a co-telepathic experience with another person within our meditation group. I personally try and connect with uh, people in the group. I try to connect collectively to people, but on this particular instance, I came up upon this one person and they were extremely high uh, play energy vibration. And I hadn't ever meditated with them before. And it was one of those things where I let it flow and I just said, take us somewhere. So we immediately were flying like birds in the sky and we were flying. And at this point, when I look back at what happened is I actually am certain I was seeing through this person's eyes, actually. So I was seeing what they were experiencing, but I was with them. But what we were flying up in the sky, past clouds, past birds. We looked down on a forest of trees, and in there was this dinosaur that they had imagined, and I saw it walking around, and a rhinoceros. This person had imagined this dinosaur and rhinoceros, and I saw them walking amongst the trees. And I actually saw, it was hilarious, one of the trees imitated the dinosaur and actually pretended to be like the dinosaur. They were all playing. The dinosaur, the trees, and the rhino were all playing, and we were watching this. And we went past a rainbow. I then introduced this energetic person to a dog that I had been recently introduced to, and me and this dog have become like really telepathically close. And and then this person took me to the actual pyramids. You would be so proud, Melissa. Took me not to a pyramid that they came up with. They took me to the pyramids. A pyramid in Giza, one particular pyramid. I have no idea what the meaning of that pyramid was, but we hovered over that pyramid and we looked down at it, and then at that point, it seemed like we went and did something else. That part's faded, but then the meditation was over. Well, after the meditation, we like to all talk about our experiences. Well, I wrote everything out that I had just gone through, and I had this checklist of everything I just described to you. And I didn't say a thing. I wanted to let that person talk first. And they went through exactly everything that I just said, one by one, what we did. Um, including the one thing they forgot. And I said, wait, didn't you see something colorful? And then they went, oh, I forgot. We went past a rainbow, which was a really key moment actually in it too. So it was one of the most profound experiences to co-experience all that creative energy that they created as we went through. And I got to watch it through their imagination and eyes and feel it and the play and the fun and all that. It was so much fun, life changing. So anyway, I just want to share when you get that connected telepathically to people, that's what every day could be like with everybody. So
Go ahead, Chrissy.
Sorry, I'm not sure why, but I'm getting like a really emotional reaction to just everything that's been said, and I'm not sure why. Um, but I feel like Mason's kind of pushing me to talk about like my fears about all of this and stuff. So I'm not, that's why I raised my hand, because I feel like it may be me having the bravery to just say like um my big thing is there's no one else except for my mother that I'm really afraid to talk to about this with. And I've tried to, but do you have any suggestions or anything like that as far as like the telepathy so that you can push through and be more confident and assertive and things like that and comfortable with yourself?
Well, I think that telepathy is something that's very personal, and it doesn't have to necessarily be said that we're doing it. And Mason's relationship with you has been very personal, and he has showed you many ways of how it's safe and how he wants to help you in a lot of areas. Sometimes people don't believe us, and that's okay. My family doesn't believe me, and that's okay. We don't have to force it. We don't have to have them be okay with it. We just have to be okay with it. And you're going to hear this later on down, in my podcast, is that I was really chastised from my family, and it I didn't realize how bad it was until my my little bees are sticking up, guys, from my hair. I call them my bee antennas. So sorry. So as we're talking, they're coming up here. But my brother-in-law had stated in front of the family, and nobody said anything. Everyone agreed with him, and had said that he thinks that my life is something out of a Stephen King movie, and that the telepathy and the intuition and the fact that I quit nursing so that I could put my hands on people and heal them is straight out of a horror film. My family sees me as that. They think that I'm a threat. I will tell you that I was withheld from seeing my grandmother because of my belief systems and the fact that I thought that I could start a church. And I did start a church where all religions would be accepted, all belief systems, all political and everything would be accepted. And my family's like, that's not a thing. There's no way that you could do that. They didn't believe me. And I started sacred gatherings, and it was very successful until I had cancer. I don't have time anymore in my life to worry about the negative thoughts that other people have to say about me. If I worried about what other people thought about me, I would never do anything that I was meant to do on my own. I would be stuck in their thoughts and their mind and their emotions. So therefore, I say to you, if your mom doesn't believe, that's okay. because it might not feel safe to her. And there are people that will actually have mental breakdowns if you change their reality too fast. And there are people that cannot accept the truth, because if the truth is accepted, then that means that they have to look at themselves. And if they have to look at themselves, then that means everybody else can look at them and they don't feel good inside themselves. And so therefore, they're going to shut down. And that's okay. That is going to be a lot of people in this world. There's going to be a lot of push, and that's okay. Honor them. Don't try to push it. And then that way you're not having that interaction. I don't talk about any of my work in front of my family. I know that if I talk about it, they're going to react. So I just sit and listen because I just want to be around them. And I am a family person. It doesn't matter how they treated me. I care. I care that I love them. I care that I'm around. So I'll show up every now and then. And I just don't say anything. I listen to them and I talk about surface stuff. And I do that because I know I want to be part of the family. So if I talk about anything, I will not be able to be a part. And I'm okay with that. And it's not that I'm right or they're wrong or I'm better or they're not. It's just we have different views, different parts of the puzzles. Doesn't matter. All of it's going to fit, because I will tell you also on the flip side that the fact that my brother-in-law outed me in front of everyone and said, you need to go back to nursing because what you're doing is nothing more than a Stephen King horror film. Well, let me tell you, those were the words that I needed to hear to change my dang life and say, you think it's a horror film? Let me scientifically show you what I'm doing. And then I made it to Harvard the next year. And then I made it to working with Ada. And I made it to working with multiple different people right now. If I'm looking at my cell phone, I looked at my cell phone the other day, and I'm like, I can't even believe I have these people's numbers on just standby. Like, because I trusted my honesty and I said it anyway, and I trusted it. And the right people, all of you guys that are here, believe it on some capacity. And you know what? Y'all are better family than my other family. You're better vibes, you're better people, better advice, better connections. So thank you, family, for not having me be a part of your crappy process. They let me go. How amazing is that? I have no more responsibility of them. And whenever they want anything, I'm like, you chose for me to be out. So less burden for me. And that's all it will be for you. Less burden.
That makes so much sense. Thank you so much for that. I feel like I was almost like on a mission for a little bit to sort of prove how I can, telepathically communicate at times with Mason and through dreams, people come to me and things like that. But whenever I would share stuff, it was sort of shut down, like you said, with like your brother, not as, bad as the situation that you were discussing, but I think it was my own self-consciousness. But it's not about proving people right or wrong. It's about feeling comfortable within yourself, which is so, so important. So thank you for reminding me of that.
Yeah. I have this big book called Prove Me Wrong, but it's always kind of a joke, because the truth is that we don't need to prove anything. You don't ever need to prove anything. Other people want us to prove things, but we don't have to. It's just if you choose to. But what I found is trying to prove things to people just takes time away from what I want to do. And that whole book taught me a lot, and it's still teaching me a lot. It's gonna be a whole book. And I love it. But also I'm so frustrated with it, because I'm like, I shouldn't have to prove any of this. I shouldn't even have to say these words. I shouldn't even have to whatever. But this is what the world needs, and this is what they're asking for right now. And all people need to do is witness, and they'll believe. And that's what I started doing. And I will tell you, some of my family members are coming around. They're seeing, because I just stopped talking about it and just started being it. And then I started being it, then they were like, dang. Because when I was fighting it, then I was fighting what they had to say. But when I don't fight it and they just witness it, it's a whole different ballgame. Go ahead, Melody.
I just wanted to say, first of all, that I love you, Chrissy and Mason, first of all, and thank you to Chrissy for her honesty. And it just what popped in my mind was if anybody's ever been exposed to any 12-step program, they all kind of follow the same principles, same steps, but there's a step that says, made direct amends to made direct amends wherever possible. Speak from personal experience to say sometimes when people don't share the worldview, um, and we want to share our truth with them because we want to be seen. In my personal experience, what has happened is it has caused harm to others. And I don't know if I'd go back and I would do it any other way. But just to say that I do think we have to just accept that we're not all going to be in the same space at the same time. And I loved what you said, Chrissy, about what matters most is what we think of ourselves. So just yeah, so thank you.
I talk about this a lot, but I'm actually going to bring it out this time. If life is just a little movement, right? Like, oh, things are moving, things are going, and whatever. And sure, like there's an opinion on this side and there's opinion on this side. That's okay. There's harmony, there's balance. Everything is okay. You got your opinion, I got mine, whatever. But when I take my opinion and I try to force it on other people and I say, this is the way, there's going to be so much pushback. There's going to be discord. There's going to be disconnection. There's going to be separation. There's going to be disharmony. It's not even trying to go into the flow that it did. It's just trying to stop everything. So whenever you go at something and you're going at it with force, listen, I'm right. Listen, whatever. Rather than take it or leave it, what you're going to do is put so much force that it's going to cause each of the sides to go argue back and forth to find their place. But all they're really doing is compacting everything and making it so that it doesn't move. But if you have two people in a room that just say, oh, well, we have difference of opinions, but we're not going to force it on anyone, then you have a whole system that works together. And so we should never force our opinion on anyone. We should just offer our opinion and say, take it or leave it. If you're in flow with it, stay in flow with it. If somebody comes and you're in flow and they want to knock you out, guess what? They're not going to knock you so hard because you're staying in flow. And again, no, listen to me. No, I'm staying in flow. And so there's not much more argument. So when we want to, think about things and we get we get excited, we get emotional because that's part of the system. But whatever you can do to stay in harmony is going to be the best. And that's why it's okay to not have a certain opinion. I personally will, and I tell people this, I believe in telepathy and I don't. I believe in myself and I don't. I don't have a specific hard opinion about anything because any given moment I could change my opinion. And adapting is going to keep you in flow. But when you try to stay hard and stay on your truth, it's going to cause chaos because things are going to bounce back on it. And if you say, you know what, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, I'm a little bit right, I'm a little bit wrong, I don't know, you stay there. So try to just stay in that harmony with your mom. Say, okay, we'll agree to disagree and everything will be okay. And it doesn't stop the relationship or cause any separation. And that's what we're looking for in this life, is we're looking for the least amount of separation. We're in the most amount of compromise. So, that being said, guys, I'm going to end the meeting just a few minutes early unless anybody has anything else to say. And if you do, please feel free. I just don't want to talk anymore, if I'm being honest. Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, I left the comment, and I just wanted to, I don't know, touch on this a little bit. It's we're all these little humans, and we get so caught up in being little humans and all this human stuff, and it's important. It's what we're supposed to do for good or bad experience, and do dumb things and learn from it. Own it, own it, own it, own it, own it. I say that to so many people. Just own it. You did something dumb. You effed up. You regret it. Own it. Own it. Be truthful about it. Own it. Because then you can do it again. Like you were saying, Melissa, do it again. God, I did it again. I told myself I wasn't going to do that. Well, you did it again. Oh, well, own it. Own it the second time. Keep owning it for better or for worse. But it's all this human stuff. People just get so wrapped up in and it's the human condition. We forget who we are. We forget where we come from. There's we're infinitesimally small, but immensely important at the same time. But if we remember that who we are in the great source and our process, if we can even fathom that, which is virtually inconceivable, but if we can just touch upon that, then it just, for me at least, it brings the tone down, you know? Like it's like there's human Pete, and then there's this other being, which I am. And I have to keep reminding human Pete that I'm not I'm human Pete just for a very brief blip, a glimpse, and we all try, but there's much greater factors at play, and this is what we need to tap into. It doesn't stop us from being human, but it puts it into perspective. Man, I could go on about this all day and night, but I just wanted to bring it down to like all these emotions, all these anxieties and fears. It's all very human, and we don't have to own it. We recognize it, but we don't have to, well, we have to own it, but we don't have to identify by it. It's, hopefully that makes some sense. That's what I know. Thanks.
That's a great way to say it. Thank you for that addition. Does anyone else have anything they want to add? No? Okay. Well, thank you guys for this meeting. And I love it. I love that we can just have the whole community talk and come together. I think everybody really inputted, and it's really going to help change some of the minds of some people when they think, well, what's telepathy? What is that going to do? And they get fearful of it, because everything that we talked about today was so lovely, and it was such a magical place to be, to sit and think about all the things that you guys were talking about today. I really love that style of world, and I really hope that listening to this video, that people would really open their hearts and open their minds to the possibility of what telepathy can bring. And rather than deny it, open yourself up to your truest inner sacred communication and connection to self and others. Love you all. Have a wonderful night. And thank you for being here.